for you, I guess, just generally, did you have hesitations, concerns before agreeing to do Homecoming? What was the thought process like for you?
Yeah, I did. I had some hesitations. My feeling was like, if the money's not right, I'm not in, because
Yeah,
I love
fair.
my castmates. Would I love to, hang out with them in New Orleans again? Of course. But if the cameras are rolling, it just adds a level of intensity to the whole thing. So it wasn't about not wanting to be with the castmates. It was more about, the fact about being on reality TV in 2022.
And had you watched the other Homecomings, did you kind of know what you were getting into with, the video messages setting up these big conversations? And
Right, exactly. It wasn't as like, real per se. It's like a hybrid kind of type of show. And I had watched the New York show, so
okay.
I saw some
You saw things could go down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not living with my head in the sand. Like we're living in an era where, you could step in it and not even mean to step in it,
Yeah.
So.
Oh, of course. And that has to be, because obviously we are talking a lot about race, sexuality here. And a lot of topics that you guys talked about back in the day are unfortunately still relevant and still, being discussed now. Is that something that maybe surprised you when these videos do come up showing some of these conversations from almost 20 years ago? And you're like, why is this still an issue?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, a lot of these issues are, like the race question has been, around since the dawn of man, so in a way, like, I think that you could have healthy conversations around a lot of this stuff if you go in it with the right intentions. And that kind of was my thought process going into it, was like, maybe we could, share our thoughts and land the plane in a smooth fashion, so.
And now, from the first episode, it's pretty clear that for this season, a lot of you guys didn't stay in contact after. I think obviously there were some falling outs for various different reasons. I'm just curious, for you, was there anyone you did stay close with or maybe weren't as nervous about seeing?
Really, I mean, I was excited to see everybody, but the only person I ever stayed in touch with was Melissa throughout.
Okay.
So we would periodically text and a conversation here and there, but yeah, everybody else. I mean, the New York cast, they were all kind of going to each other's weddings and stuff,
right?
So
that didn't happen so much with you.
No, I think we all were like, I think trying to put the real world in the rearview mirror, And here we are. We're back.
Right, we're back. And back on the original series, you're kind of pegged as like the frat boy of the season, the frat boy of the house. Coming into the revival, was there anything about your image from back then that you maybe wanted to address or clear up, or I don't know?
Not
or is
really.
what we saw what was accurate?
Yeah, I mean, you could. I don't even know if they'll like breach this on the show or anything like that, but I wasn't totally happy with how I was portrayed out of the gate on the original show, so much so that I didn't go to the wrap party. I was pissed, and the producers were like, "Don't worry, Jamie, you come around." And I'm like, "But you're making me come around from something like that's like not really. I didn't think that I was, and coming around for being like a reformed racist isn't like a really good coming around,
Right.
So, but I know who I am, and they have to do what they have to do with like how they present the show, and ultimately I feel like it was all good.
And what was it, I guess, like for you around the time when the original show was airing? Because I know some of your co-stars, they struggled with being in the limelight after. Other people's kind of capitalized on it a bit more. Just what was your relationship like with being in public after?
Yeah, I had a company at the time, and I was really focused on that. I was living in San Francisco, working with that, and so I was kind of heads down into that for the year that it was airing. And I actually weirdly didn't watch the show in its entirety back then.
Really?
Because I revisited the show prior to shooting this reunion. And I was like sitting there in in bed, like watching it. And I'm like, it was amazing. I was like watching it for the first time. And it was really, I was like, wow, that was a decent show, you know? But it was funny because I was like, dude, did I never actually watch this show when it aired? So yeah, I think like I liked the D-list celebrityness. It was fun, but I didn't really, you know, like capitalize or try to like really lean into it, you know?
You did a few challenges though, which is more
Yes.
than I think most people have done. So good on that. Was there a reason why you stopped doing those, or are you happy you won and you were like, okay, I'm good?
Yeah, you know, I've talked about with this guy Derek, who has like a challenge. He's on a bunch of challenges, and
Yep.
If you really look at like the arc of the challenges, there's like the first generation challenges, and then there's this middle generation that happened with like, you know, Derek and Brad and
Yep.
you know, CT, and like now he's back, of course, but like
Of
but then
course.
there was like then there's like the next generation that's we've been experiencing for the last let's say 7 or 8 years or whatever. But when in the first generation, which I was a part of, like if you were in your late 20s and 30s, you were considered ancient, you know? And I would make fun of Cyrus and Mark Long. I'd be like, if I'm doing this when I'm 30, like please shoot me. But it was dumb. Like, why not? Just it's a fun thing. And so I think there was just like a different attitude towards it. And now, like, I guess CT won the last one. He's like 41 years old, you know, and
Right. I'm like, Mark and Cyrus came back for All Stars. So
yeah. So, you know, hey, it's all good. I would do another, but like at the time it was like I did 3 and that was good, you know.
I was going to say, is All Star something you would be interested in now that you're back in this Paramount Plus bubble?
Yes, if they call me, I would consider it.
And now, you know, getting back to Homecoming, I have watched the first 2 episodes. I am hooked already.
Oh wow.
I'm guessing or wondering how surprised you were that, you know, the Julie of it all kind of blew up night 1. Like it's literally you guys are just sitting down to drinks and her, Melissa, and Danny are already airing everything out. Were you surprised it did kind of get off to such a rocky beginning?
Not really. No. I wasn't really surprised. No. I knew that there was like a lot of unsaid and you know, just again, it was like one of those things where I know from Melissa's standpoint, she's so moved on from it that it was like hard for her to even address it. And yet we're doing this, so you might as well talk about it, right? Like, like for the fans right now. But like, it's not, she didn't really care. And yet it was kind of needed to be addressed. So yeah, the fact that it just happened right out of the gates wasn't surprising to me.
I was gonna say, how much?
I was hoping, and I'm not spoiling anything, but like, you know, my feeling was like, whatever was the past, can we like address it and grind and figure it all out, and then like have a new experience in this, you know, next 2 weeks or whatever, and you know, you'll have to tune in to find out.
I was gonna say, it does seem nice as a viewer to get it done first, so that maybe there's some room for at least cohabitating the rest of the time.
Right.
We'll see if that can happen.
Exactly.
But how much of that situation did surprise you versus how much you already knew? I know Melissa obviously talked about it on the challenge back in the day. I think for Danny, I think more people were more surprised to hear maybe his side of the whole issue. But how much did you know going into everything, I guess?
I knew like rumblings of it. I knew Melissa's story. I didn't really know Danny's story. But yeah, because Melissa, Julie, and I did a challenge called Battle of the Sexes, and that's when she kind of told me all about it. But I never understood like if it was ever resolved or if any. So like this was all new to me, just like it's new to you. I'm excited to watch the show.
And you know, I rewatched the whole original season before watching the new episodes, just to freshen everything up in my mind. But for you, I guess, what was your relationship kind of like with Julie then? Because obviously there were these flirty moments that made it on camera, but she was kind of boy crazy about everyone. It seemed like at different points. But, you know, seeing all the women in the cast kind of have little crushes on you, what was that kind of like seeing? And now that you have seen all the episodes for the first time yourself.
Yeah. And I don't know if they there was a hot seat kind of thing in this new show where we might get into that kind of thing.
Okay, I have not seen that yet. It's not in the first 2 episodes.
Oh shit! Okay, didn't mean to spoil.
You can tease it.
Teasing. Yeah, and tune in to whatever for how we kind of hash it out or anything like that. But I think like at the time we're all post college, out in the world, and weirdly I kind of in my own mind was like, I'm not going to get involved with anyone in the house back, and so I think in my own mind, like that might have caused some drama between Kelly and I, whether that was what caused the drama, I don't know. But ultimately we did have kind of some awkwardness in those months or whatever, so I think it's just all about, a bunch of single young people living in a house. There's going to be all that energy happening,
Right. I wouldn't want my early 20s filmed. So I give credit to anyone who was on these shows in the first place.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
And, coming into this, I guess, who really surprised you the most with how much they've changed? I know, especially David, obviously Tokyo has a new name. It seems like he has realized maybe the way he was acting back then is totally different from who he wants to be now. Is that something you saw, or was he maybe the one who did kind of surprise you all the most?
Well, yeah, I think I've said this in another interview, but I do think Tokyo was kind of the most changed in a way. And like energetically, meaning like who he was being in the house. Like he realized that, and again, like you just said it, like when you're in your early 20s, you're still trying to figure your own life out, who you are, how you are, what you're going to be, or you're not anything at that point, and like, so I think he at the time was presenting kind of a, an image of how he wanted to be. And it wasn't one that was like, hey, let's hang out and let's just talk about, life, liberty, and the pursuit of justice or whatever, So this time around, I think like I'm the same way. Like I had my own like little agendas going on. And so for me, I was here to like connect and talk and really kind of get to know people for the first time. And I think he was kind of in a similar mindset. So, and that was different from the David or Tokyo from back in the day,
Right. Just like rewatching the episode where you all like sit him down and have this whole intervention. You're like, you're an it's wild to see now, and I'm sure, obviously, I know you readdress it again on the show, but it's just crazy.
Well, dude, and then like I said, I hadn't watched the show, and I watched it too, like just like you did, and it was a crazy kind of thing to watch. And I will say that one of my favorite episodes of the first Real World was when David did his show on that public access television show, and it was a bunch of like strippers. Yeah. And it's like Kelly and I think Matt had to like host the show, and there's just like comedy gold in there that like stood the test of time. So if the original Real World is on Paramount Plus, I highly recommend watching that episode. It's pretty fun.
Yes, no, they're all there now. I had to rewatch the Mardi Gras episode, especially. It's one of my favorites. Just how insane like the whole house was. Everyone was off doing their own thing. That girl who was just like checking her email while David was with her friend. Like it's just such a great moment in time encapsulated in this like 25-minute episode.
Totally. It's amazing. Yeah. And like if people ask me like what my favorite time, it probably was like when we were on that float for Mardi Gras. That was like one of the best times,
And now that you are a few months removed from doing Homecoming, I guess what is the communication like between you and your former roommates now? Is it stronger? Is there a group text message? Are there people that you're still maybe aren't as close to as you'd like to be?
Yeah, I've been texting with Danny, and I'm, as far as I'm concerned, I'm cool with everybody, and I would actually, Danny's gone back down to New Orleans a bunch over the years, and he's like, dude, you should come down for Halloween or for Jazz Fest or whatever. And like, I could see myself doing that now that like Airbnbs are a thing, and anybody can get the New Orleans feeling by just renting an Airbnb and hanging out there for a week, So I'd like to, I would love to have a future where, Danny and I meet up. Love it. I love everybody. I think everybody's great, and I'm on good terms with everybody.
Good.
So
Happy to hear it.
yeah.
Well, I am looking forward to see the rest of the season. The first 2 episodes are great. I think, yeah, dives into shit right away. So
Oh God. Well, you got to hook 'em.
it's going to be good.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time and watching everything and talking with me.
Likewise.
Yeah. Awesome, Brian. Keep watching.
We will. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Okay, Brian. Have a great day. Take care.